It's the unsexy things to create the sexy life is what we tell people. But it's true, right? Like the reason we are where we're at personally and even in this business is because we have committed to consistency.
Hey, how's your summer going?
It is good, doing all the things. Definitely one of those things like I lie to myself that it's going to be slower and relaxed, and it's just not. But
I know.
I really wouldn't have it any other way. So I've been doing the whole like camp juggle while working and then making sure we do one activity a day. And so it's been busy but fun. What about you?
I know it's supposed to be our downtime as CPAs because it's July. And you'd
Nobody's
think it would be, but we're running a business. We're hiring people. We're building our systems. We're doing podcasts. So there's just no stopping for us right now.
It's true. And I think that's probably very relatable to most people. And like that's why this week we want to talk about how to build wealth while still really enjoying your life, because I think sometimes we have been fed this myth that we can only do one thing. And I think this is something we're both very passionate about, that this is the first time that it is available for women to be very present parents at the same time as running a business, and men too, but specifically women because that's what we are. And also that we're moms, and we've always had this idea that it is like career or family. And we really have such a sweet opportunity right now where we can do both. So it is definitely something we love talking about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Why do you think people think building wealth means you kind of have to sacrifice the presence piece in life, the motherhood of it all, in order to build this wealth and legacy by owning a business?
I think there's a myth or there's an image of everyone who's rich or building wealth as like a hard charger, or like, in movies, like you picture that businesswoman in the suit who's just working all the time, going hard and not taking care of her kids. But I really think that's just an image that Hollywood has put together, and it's not the case for how things are going in current day.
Well, even at that, I just saw a reel the other day that it was talking about how it was like a woman who was apologizing to her children and her children's generation. And she's in between boomers and us, right? And she's saying, hey, we created this like scenario that you can only have one or the other, and you should pick the career. And that is what shapes us. And I think there's this misconception, but also a very like reasonable thing people think, where women should mimic how men do it. And the only way to be successful as a woman is to do it the way men do it. And that's just simply not true, because we have so much more available to us that allows us to still be a woman and a mother and have those things while also building a business. So we don't have to do it any other way than like we're meant to do it, right? But there is this underlying tone that I think we heard for a really long time, is that women can't do it. So if you can do it, you're just doing it like a man does it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so like one or the other. Like a lot of women are like, oh, well, I'm not going to become a doctor because I want to have kids one day. And they decide that when they're like 20 years old.
Right.
So,
and I think it's understandable when you've not seen the path paved before to assume you can't be the one to pave it. And I think that's kind of what we're doing differently here with Thorn, and kind of why we're so passionate about growing it. One, from the standpoint being a woman-owned, founded, and like employed business, and being in a space where it's mainly men. And even majority of our clients end up being men too, which is like crazy to think about because we are from the stance of like really setting ourselves apart as a woman owned. But then we're also reimagining how accounting firms are run or advisory firms are run. And so we're doing a lot of things that other people either haven't done or at least is not widely talked about. You know what I mean?
Right. We're moms, we hire moms. And so that's the expectation with our business and with our company is that we put family first. And so, you know, people have time to take off to spend with their kids. Our hours might not be like the average 9 to 5 hours that most businesses have because we have other obligations. And it's not really like a hindrance to us, I don't think. I think we have an advantage of as women.
For sure.
Because we're more nurturing. I think we connect with people a little bit better than men do. We're not as hard and just we're more understanding when it comes to everything. And then we can put together our analysis and our advisory and give advice while like being nurturing at the same time.
Yeah. And I think too, it's because it's not even that like women are better than men or men or women are better than women. We're just different. And we can leverage that strength that we have where we come in and we see bigger picture outside of just what the problem is. So when we come to solve a problem, we're also factoring in the 90 other things that are involved in it because we've solved problems in our lives that same way. And I think that's kind of where the competitive advantage, if you want to call it that, is because we're coming from a perspective that we're very busy beyond just working. And I think that gives us the ability to connect with that business owner that has more priorities than just the business and maybe got sucked into just being the business. And I think we see that a lot. And it's weird because usually when you're talking to a financial person, you're never really talking about feelings. Even though there's so many feelings that are connected to the financial discussion too, right? And I think when we try to separate those, that's where we go wrong because then we build a business that requires us to do something that we're not available to do. We're not available to sacrifice our whole life to go build this thing the most strategic way. We need a strategy that meets us where we're at so we can build the business that is going to be sustainable too. And sometimes if you just get that cookie cutter business advice, that cookie cutter tax strategy or cash flow strategy, you're kind of on an island sometimes because that's not going to fit your life. And I feel like that's what we like honed in on and what we do differently is we really see the person on the other end of it.
Yeah. It's hard to follow steps and do all of the things if you can't remember the why behind them. And if the steps don't have meaning. So, I mean, it's one thing for someone to give you a plan and say, hey, do A, B, and C, and then you're going to get there. It's another thing for someone to put together a plan and say, this is why we're doing those steps so that you can take summers off to hang out with your kids.
I mean, we've talked about this too. Like, we want to give our employees 5 weeks of vacation. We want them to be able to wind down during the summer when it's not as busy so that they're available and rejuvenated for the time that it is busy because we know what it's like to like sacrifice all and then continue to have to do that because nobody recognizes that everybody needs rejuvenation time, right?
Right.
That is why we find it's so important to have this discussion of like, how can you actually make a plan that increases your lifestyle alongside your dollars? And so I think the biggest thing that I notice in businesses is they will often sacrifice self for the business. So one of my biggest recommendations is making sure you pay yourself first. And that needs to be part of the priority. And profit first is one of the best ways to do that, because somebody already figured out what the rules were and they can tell you how to go do them. But one of the priorities is, hey, like, in order for you to keep doing this, you have to pay yourself. You have to have a living wage, and ideally more than that. And I think that's often the first thing people cut out.
Yeah. They're also just not thinking about it at all.
Right.
They're like, hey, it's a new month. Let's see how much I can make. I'm not really going to outline what I'm going to pay myself. I'm just going to wing it. Hopefully I don't have a deficit at the end of this month. But like having a plan and knowing what you're going to pay yourself and staying within that boundaries, it really gives you more freedom than not doing 100%. That.
I tell people all the time, like, I do the personal finance jig outside of all this. And I often hear that budgets feel terrible, like they feel constricting and that they just have negative connotations. And I'm like, y'all, this is just a spend plan. You're just planning how you're spending your money. You're not planning on how you're, not spending money, right? Like you're planning on what it is a priority and making sure there's dollars attached to it. And I think that's the same idea behind this, where you got to actually create a plan so that you can get where you're going, because otherwise, how are you going to get there?
Right. It really gives you so much more freedom too, even if you think it doesn't, because you're going to have less anxiety. You're going to know that you're going to end up with cash at the end of the month. You're not going to be making decisions in fear, right? Because you know exactly what you can spend and what you can't.
100%. And I think too, sometimes as women, I think this is a very relevant conversation. We feel selfish taking care of ourselves, but it's almost a necessity to take care of yourself, whether it be financially speaking or self-care wise, so that you can keep doing what you do and continue to give at the level that you give, whether it be financially or time wise or nurture wise to those in your life. And you really have to make sure you take care of yourself first. And it is not a selfish thing. It's actually the most caring thing you can do, because if you're not good, how are you going to do everything else that is your responsibility, right? And that kind of leads into building an emergency fund. As much as this gets hammered home in the personal finance space, I don't feel like it happens enough in the business space. And you should have 3 months of hard expenses saved, because that's what's going to help on those variable, inconsistent months. And I feel like nobody talks about this enough, but that's how you sleep well at night. Actually sitting down and saying, hey, I'm going to be able to make payroll even if this month is not as good as last,
Right. Yeah, definitely. And having that emergency fund set up in the right way is important as well. Like having a money market fund for the emergency fund so that it's making money off of that cash.
And if you don't know what a money market is, it's the same thing as a high yield savings account. Sometimes they're called cash connect accounts. But the goal here is that it has that higher return than you see. So some tools like Relay, they have it built in as a savings account within your Relay accounts. And that's actually pretty low. There are some out there that you can get higher percentages, around 3 or 4%. That's kind of what I would aim for a business high yield savings account.
Yeah.
But Andrea is very passionate about this. She talks about it a lot. What else do you usually talk about that comes up when you're talking about saving it in a high yield?
What do you mean?
Estimated tax payment.
Oh, yeah, definitely save in your tax what you're going to owe in tax into a high yield account or a money market account so that it's not just sitting there throughout the whole entire year. I also recommend just paying in the minimum amount that you have to pay in for estimates to cover you from the safe harbor interest and penalties. Even if you had a great year in 2026 and you're going to owe a bunch to the IRS, don't give them the money every quarter. Put that into a high interest, a money market account, make some money off of that, and then pay it to the IRS on April 15th.
For sure. And we'll do an episode on that specifically because I think that is like, can be confusing for people to know what the safe harbor is, how to figure it out, as well as where are you treading lines with the IRS and where are you not, and like what, rules to follow. I know that can be nerve-wracking for some people when you don't really know. So I think having a whole episode on that would be like a great conversation too. What is something else you would recommend how to build wealth while still just like living your life, like a great way to do that?
Invest consistently, even if it's a small amount. So automate your investments, make sure they're going in every single month. And so it's out of sight, out of mind. You're not stressing about it. You're not thinking about it. You're not hard on yourself if you forget to do it. It's just automatically going out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because I feel like that's planning for your future. And there's no better way to feel at peace than knowing that you've already planned for tomorrow, right? And I think this relates to your retirement as well as an index fund. We do both in our household. We do a couple different things, but I think it is worth having a couple diversified investments where you can pull from it if you decide to retire early. That's the whole reason we started our index fund, is because we're like, I don't want to have to work. I don't know that I won't work, but I don't want to have to. And the only way to do that is really trying to invest so that when I want to quit working, even if I'm not of retirement age, I can afford it,
Totally. And the index fund is a great place to put your money instead of picking individual stocks. And researching which stocks, when to sell them, when to buy. That's so time consuming. Just 100%. Put your money into an index fund and forget about it.
For sure. And like one of the simplest ways that I recommend to people is doing a target retirement date one, because it literally makes the decision for you. It does the risk profile, it does everything that you're afraid to do when you invest. It does it for you. And like it's just a simple way to ensure you have that wealth in the future.
So funny story. I have my previous 401k from my last job invested into one of those target funds. And my coworker who's still there, she also has her 401k, but she picked where she wanted everything. And we compared our returns, and mine is way higher than her. It's like 3% higher, and it's just in the general target fund.
Well, and the reason too is because it does the risk profile, right? Like you're far off from retirement, so it makes sense that you can be in riskier investment.
Right.
Whereas when it's just you, that's a lot to figure out on your own, to be like, oh, I want to really balance that risk profile. That sounds terrible. Like I'd much rather let a professional do that than me.
Right.
You know what I mean? The other thing, I thought you were going to say this. I left my retirement in my retirement account after I left Big Four accounting. I knew I should take it out because there were so many people we had as clients that would impact our independence. So we could not invest in them. So if I took it out, I knew I was going to get a better return. And because I was so, overwhelmed by the process, I just waited for far too long. So heed this as a cautionary tale and just take it out, put it in a target retirement account, and go on with your life.
Also, the fees associated with a retirement plan, like for a job, are higher than just having your own IRA or like opening an account on Fidelity. It'll be cheaper for you. So it is better if you quit a job to roll that over as fast as you can.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, cautionary tale. My husband like reminds me frequently about that time because I think I was just so overwhelmed by it. And then when I went to do it, I was like, oh, I literally just have to like fill out a piece of paper.
Oh, it's that easy?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, but let's talk about like some more like practical things. I feel like one of the things I would love to tell business owners of like how to truly enjoy your life is investing in experiences that matter. And I think this comes up for me a lot because I do work on the personal side of the house as well. And it is so painful when people think they are ready to build a budget and they're like, I'm going to cut out everything fun in my life. And I'm like, no, please go on the vacation. Just plan for it, right?
Yeah.
Please go do the thing you've been wanting to do. Even simply going on a hike. And I know I'm preaching to you because this is like your thing that you do, but like that hike is a better investment in your time than it is for you to like barely be processing and having the capacity doing just sitting behind your desk. You know what I mean? So that investment in experience is not just financial, you know?
When you look back on your life too, in your childhood and growing up, you remember experiences more than things. So I agree. I think purchasing trips and going on different trips with your family is more valuable than buying like a new car or a new wardrobe.
And one could say, as we've talked about many times, like creating that type of experience and culture within your company too is huge. Like you will never regret investing in your employees and your team culture, right?
And that's 100% deductible too. If you did a company retreat, that's a full write-off.
Yes.
The flight, the resort. So it's a great time. Before the end of the year, that's something really good to spend on because it's going to reduce your tax bill too. And it's going to make everyone motivated to do a good job.
And I will say, when I say get creative, I mean hire the expert that can tell you exactly how to do it the right way. Because there's certain things that are available to you as a business owner that you should definitely make sure you are ticking all the right boxes to do well so you don't find yourself in a situation later. Right?
Yeah. Yep. You have to set it up right. You can't just go and do it and not document anything, not save receipts. Like you have to make sure it's legit in case you do get audited. It would pass under an audit.
For sure. And then I think the other like, I don't know, trippy thing that can like really mess you up is wanting to just continue to increase your lifestyle while your business is growing. And I think there's some room for that, but thinking about what the ultimate goal is, sometimes it is focusing on cash flow in the business in certain seasons. And then in other seasons, it's taking money out so that you can live the way you would like to, but not beyond your means. And I think that can happen way too often.
I see so many business owners think that they're making a ton of money and then that lifestyle creep hits them. It gets to their head. They start spending. They buy a huge house. They have a big mortgage. They're more stressed out than they were when they made like $120,000 a year.
Amen. I feel like I see that all the time. And we're specifically, especially on the cash flow side of the house, like unwinding that a lot of times, especially as businesses grow quickly. That lifestyle creep happens because they say, oh, I'll just invest in this one thing. I will just do this one thing for myself. And then they're like 10 years deep in it and they have no cash to make payroll, but they also have no personal cash because it's all tied up in hard assets, or they don't have that kind of savings put aside because they were so reliant on the business cash flow.
Definitely. One thing I've been thinking about recently is to think of a number. This is what I'm doing for myself. I'm thinking of like that net worth number of what I want to hit. Like figure out what it is for you, and then don't change the way that you live until you get there, until the business gets there.
Yes. That's so funny because, I'm building this curriculum. It's like a financial ministry curriculum. And I literally had this conversation this week about how important it is to know what your net worth is and how you leverage that in order for you to kind of have a benchmark of, am I making progress? Am I not? Should I be doing more or not in different ways in order to just like support you? So you have like that stability of a strong anchor. And so I love that you shared that because I think it's huge and it creates this habit. And I think wealth really comes from consistency and creating habits that serve you. And so like when we're talking about this, the biggest takeaway we want you to have is like, you don't have to choose between life and building wealth, but you have to build your life in a way that you can create the habit of building wealth while still living. So some of those things are really putting on your calendar, checking in with your numbers, putting on your calendar, making sure you review the report your bookkeeper sends you. It's putting on your calendar, hey, I'm going to set up a time with my tax strategist and my cash flow strategist and say, hey, these are my goals for this year. What's your input on them? Do you think I can get there? Should I stretch a little bit more? Do I have competing goals? Those types of things are huge when it comes to really having the life and the wealth that you want.
I completely agree with that. It's definitely through doing the boring thing over and over consistently.
It's the unsexy things to create the sexy life is what we tell people. But it's true, right? Like the reason we are where we're at personally and even in this business is because we have committed to consistency. It is the truth of the matter. And it's because we're looking at our cash flow. We're actually thinking about where we want to be in 10 years. And then we're thinking about what we need to do today to be there in 10 years. And I think that's this, it is the unsexy thing about owning a business, that there are seasons of sacrifice. There are times like we're in the thick of it right now as we grow and scale. We have to work. And that's okay because that's how and why we started this business in the first place. But we don't want that to be the biggest priority in our life. And so part of the reason we feel so busy and we have so much going on is because we don't want to just be about work. We want to have the lifestyle piece too. And it does create us being a little bit busier now, but we know where we're going. So we know it's worth it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why we're so passionate about helping other people with this, is because we're in it, we're doing it too, and we want to show people that it's possible for them, but also give them the path to get there.
Absolutely. So if this is something that has sparked your interest and you want to just hop on a call and see what it's like to work with us, please go ahead and book your call in the show notes, and we will be talking to you next week.